The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting group. Access Fort Wayne is a department of the Allen County Public Library. If you or anyone you know might be interested in making a television show, please call 260-421-1250.
Welcome to the Cashman Mind, Body, Spirit Show. I think you're going to really enjoy this because what I'll be teaching you here today is how to live to be 101 and to look very young and to be healthy and have had potentially no diseases. It can be done. It is frankly related to the type of food you're eating. It's your gut. Science is showing now that your gut actually is another organ. It's like the liver or the spleen. You have to, because of the bacteria, viruses, funguses that are living in your gut and digest your food. And I will teach you the science of that. Almost over 90% of the illnesses that we're looking at as a physician originated because the problems with those bacteria caused us. And majority of the time, it's the type of food that we're eating. So let's get on this trip together, have a little fun, because I want you to be playing pickleball against me or tap dancing with me when you reach 100. I'll be standing there. Okay, so really, our gut is our most underrated organ. We're not paying attention to it. So let's take a trip and go through it and learn how it works. So the gateway to the gut, obviously, is the mouth and the tongue and the tonsils. So the mouth and the glands. And carbohydrates, sugars, complex sugars, are partially digested when they enter our mouth. Our saliva is produced by glands that are located beneath the tongue and above the tongue. And a lot of fluid comes out, saliva. You won't believe this. 1.5 gallons daily of mucus. Yes. Proteins and fats have to go through the esophagus and digest it further down the stomach and then the intestines and some even the colon. So if we were to culture for bacteria, which represent 90% of the guys living in our gut, there are bacteria, viruses, and funguses living in your gut right now. Trillions of them. Yeah. You would think our genes, which we only have about 20 to 25,000 genes, but these guys living in there outdo us about 150 to 1. So we are not who we think we are. And we have to respect those guys living in there. And what's interesting is the lifespan of a bacteria is about 20 minutes. Yes. The lifespan of the gut, the outermost layer, the epithelium, is about 24 hours. So if there's a problem, what we want to change or to adjust can be done quickly, and that's great news for all of us. So if you're having a medical problem due to eating the wrong food, you can change it quickly, because those bacteria which regulate the metabolism in your body that determines whether you're healthy or sick can be changed quickly. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful news? So then the food passes down the esophagus, which is kind of lanky, and occasionally it collects gas and problems, and it causes pressure on the heart. That can happen, and there's a called Rumpfeld syndrome, ROEMHELD syndrome. It's rare, but some people have it, and it impairs their heart, actually, from choking on food, eating the wrong food, for example. Then, as the food enters the stomach, a lot of acids are secreted, which help to equalize the equilibrium in the stomach. And there's pepsin, which also envelops the proteins that we eat. So acid is very important in there, because as some dangerous bacteria that might kill us enter our body, viruses too, the acid in the stomach and the pepsin destroys them, kills them, saves our life. So some people take inhibitors of this acid secretion. They found out that it is not good, and they become very ill. So then as the food enters the small intestine, which is about 10 to 20 feet long, we then have many fats and protein, and sugars that are left. They're not totally digested yet, but partially digested. The pancreas has a tube straight to the beginning of the gut, the duodenum, and it reduces the sugar level. The insulin is secreted, and if the sugar level is too low, it secretes glucagon, which raises the sugar level. Then the liver secretes bile, which envelops the food, breaks it apart to a molecular level, and then the molecules of fat enter the lymphatic system, and through the thoracic duct go straight to the heart. Straight shot at the heart. Yeah. And the body is trying to break the food down. If you were to look at the small bowel, it needs a lot of surface area, which 10 to 20 feet is not a lot of surface area, but it has in them called villi, the shape sort of like that, and they have microvilli, millions to increase the surface area of absorption. It's really the size of a tennis court, only 10 to 20 feet, but because of the villi, the surface area that we have for the hormones to work from the pancreas, where the enzymes work from the liver, and the villi themselves secrete enzymes which make you feel full after you've been eating, and relaxes the bowel. And serotonin is secreted. Yeah, you don't believe it. The feel-good hormone, the quick one that acts quick, that can also come from the brain. Actually, 75% of the serotonin is made in your gut. So that's why when you eat, you feel so good. That's when a baby drinks milk, and the child puts his head down, and you think that you're sleepy, but actually it was morphones, very small amount of morphine, that are produced by these bacteria, which affect the infant. Yeah, isn't that interesting? And so when we cook things, we break things apart and make it softer, more easy to digest. That's why when we started using heat on our food, we could eat a lot more things which before we couldn't eat at all. It wasn't tolerated because our guts could not break it apart. So the final breakdown does occur in our bowel. If you would use a scope, which they can do now, they can use even a scope on a pill, they can really look at the small intestine. Really, most of it looks fairly clean and scrubbed. Mm-hmm. But then it finally enters the colon, where most of your bacteria live. Your trillions of bacteria, most of them live in your colon, the end of your bowel. And a lot of digestion even occurs there. A lot of the fatty acids, butyric acid, for example, are made in the colon as we're going down the path. And then at the end, we have valves, multiple valves that help keep things in place so that we can walk down the street without having to let go. What's in there? If you were to look in history, and even now, if you go to Spain, I noticed that some restaurants didn't have sit-down toilets. People went to the bathroom by squatting. Actually, when you squat without a toilet, you're lower down and you relax more muscles. And actually, it is easier to go, although it's a bit inconvenient. We haven't been using toilets since maybe the 1800s at most. That's very interesting. As you go down the gut, the appendix really isn't needed, although we seem to operate on it a lot. And then we hit the large intestine, which is a lot bigger. If you take a laxative and you had and it's working, it takes generally for a laxative to work. I'd like you to remember it takes a lot of times 2 or 3 days. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then when it does work, it'll take 2 or 3 days for your colon to fill up again. So your next bowel movement may not be for a few days. I just throw that information out to you. Certainly that's happened to me. And most of us go once a day. I do. Unless I ate the wrong thing, and sometimes I have to take a laxative, and then for 3 days I don't seem to have a movement. But that varies from person to person, but I'd like you to know about it a little bit. And but most things that occur in the small intestines, and because it's just like a scissor, it's breaking up the food to the molecular level so it can be absorbed through the lymphatic system if it's fats or if it's sugar, and then it hits the epithelium, the outermost layer of the gut, and that's only 1 cell layer thick. Mm-hmm. There are proteins called glutens, and you can be tested for that. And that's maybe 10% of the people have gluten sensitivity. The gluten, when it hits this wall, produces a hormone called zinulin, and that breaks the epithelium apart a little bit. And now there's not this tight wall anymore, and some of the foods that we're eating that we may not tolerate go through there and hit our lymphatic system, which is right there trying to defend us. The people can have an immune problem from that, react to that. It's trying to keep things in the gut, but where the zinulin is tearing these cells apart, and it affects our immunity. It's our immune cells that are there that are protecting us, and if they do not, then we hit the bloodstream, and we can have and they get transported to other parts of the body, maybe to every cell in the body. Like if it's too much sugar, sugar will head to every cell in the body, and that can cause diseases. And a lot of the sugar that enters our bloodstream then goes to the liver and to the muscles, and can be converted to glycogen. Glycogen is a storage compound of sugar, and the liver will tolerate 100 to 200 grams of it, and in the muscles about 400. So if you haven't eaten recently and you're living your life, in about a day you'll be running out of glycogen, and then we'll go into a fat metabolism. And if you are having a weight problem or some weight around the belly, for example, as the insulin level drops, as the sugar level drops, the insulin level drops, and then the fat cells open up, fat comes out, goes to the liver, is converted to ketones. Now you're living on ketones. That's when you hear the term ketone metabolism. What's, of course, good about that, you're losing weight. They are very, ketones, molecules make you feel very energetic. Actually, your brain loves them. They didn't know till maybe 20 years ago that ketones are good for your brain. They should have known it, because years ago they knew it was good to use ketones to reduce seizures and epilepsy. And Otto Warburg, scientist in Germany, a brilliant man, discovered that a body can live off ketones, and that it took 13 molecules of sugar to make one ATP, your energy molecule. And then they found out now, this is interesting, that the virus, the 19 you've been hearing about, that one also lives off fatty acids and sugar, and goes into essence fermentation. 13 molecules of sugar to make one ATP. Yeah, I noticed that the government, industry, medicine, no one's telling the people that if there's a lot of sugar in your cells, the viruses love that, and the virus will multiply that, spread throughout your body and the world. So it's not just, I want everyone to be vaccinated. That is critical. If you're not vaccinated, you're making a big mistake. I personally know a number of people, yes, intelligent people. I heard about another one today, another one yesterday, who died because they were not vaccinated, okay? But the virus is most likely to infect and kill people who have these diseases. I'm teaching you how to avoid, through proper nutrition, to have a proper biome. All those bacteria living within you, they even call them today holobiome, because it involves the whole body. Those bacteria are living everywhere in your body. And these bacteria which are running your metabolism, they determine whether you're going to live to be 100, and one are different almost in every person. But there's trillions of them, but they can't be classified and grouped, and I'll speak a little bit more about it. A set of twins, for example, will generally not have, they'll have some similarities, but they will not have the same biome exactly as the other twin. So they can have different illnesses. And if one of the twins gets adopted and goes to another family, they will pick up a lot of the biome of the other family. Yes, yes. So it is very important to know, what am I feeding these guys? And we'll speak more about that. So when a baby is born, when it's in the uterus, it's totally sterile, no bacteria. But when the baby is born and goes through the vagina, its body becomes painted with lactobacillus. That's one of the living bacteria. And that living bacteria helps them digest milk. And that makes sense. And the mother is feeding the baby, but the baby has the necessary bacteria in their gut now to digest the milk. And they very rapidly also take on other bacteria to help digest other food they may be eating down the line. The baby's biome, all those bacteria that live in the gut, is not fully developed till about age 3. That's important to know. What's interesting is, which I think a lot of people don't know, because 50% of the mothers are getting C-sections. Yeah, it's around 50% now, plus or minus. I don't think that they have been properly informed as that when their baby are born, they have not been exposed to the lactobacillus, and the Bacteroides, another one that joins the GI tract. Yeah, so they have a lot more allergies and eczema and skin rashes and infections. Yes, I think before considering a C-section, unless it's an emergency, the doctor should discuss with the mother the difference between a vaginal birth and a C-section, and the difference in the illnesses and diseases that baby may get. Or you can look it up on the internet or read some of these books, which I have here. I think that is really a point that is, and I don't necessarily blame the mothers because their providers are not telling them in a written form, this is how the baby reacts to a C-section, and here's the vaginal birth and the effect of the gut bacteria on this. So, and remember, in your body, only 10% of our cells in our body, only billions, okay, are human. We have 150 times more foreigners living within us, and the genes that they carry, they're the bacteria. Yeah, interesting. And remember, it takes 3 years for a child to develop the biome. The friends are living within us. It takes about 3 years to develop all of them. So first is a lactobacillus. That's the name of a large group. We have actually living within us 10,000 different bacteria. Yes. But there are much more of one type than another. They are dominated by certain groups, okay? So the most common, actually, yeast. The eukaryotes, they're yeast, but they don't seem to harm us that much. They do if we take too many antibiotics, for example. But 90% of life in our gut is bacteria. So they've classified them into phyla: Bacteroides, Firmicutes, 3 others: Actinobacteria, Proteobacteria, Verrucomicrobiome. Microbiome. So there's about 5 different ones. The most common ones are the Bacteroides, the Firmicutes. Those 2 are the most common one. So the bacterial kingdom is huge. It's large. And we all have an individual holobiome footprint, okay? Our health determines what the biome looks like. And it's largely determined by what we're consuming, whether we are exercising, what toxins that enter our body, hairsprays, different soaps, what kind of toothbrush we use. So there are what has been sprayed on the food we're eating. For example, they'll have certain apples that come from California, but they be rotten by the time they get to Fort Wayne. You know what they do? The truck stops somewhere in Arizona and they spray the thing. Looks nice and red, and then you eat the thing. Well, you ate a lot of toxin. So before you eat something, you need to know where it came from. That even applies to meat. Is the meat you're eating from a food factory where they're all in line? Kansas City, there's 5 miles long, nothing but corn, which has been genetically modified. So what you eat is not the product that you're eating, it's what the product ate determines effects on you. What did that product eat? That product ate healthy stuff, ate grass that has not been sprayed, no DDT on it, for example, or is it safe? This is a complex subject, but you need to ask, because you may not be eating just that piece of salmon. You're eating what the salmon ate. I really, since I knew this, I pulled this on a well-known president of a company, and it said salmon from Scotland, Scottish salmon. So I pinned the waiter down. That wasn't Scottish salmon. That was from a farm, and that salmon had corn. So what was my friend eating? His salmon? It's a piece of corn. I had it recently at a restaurant where I tasted it, and it was a piece of fish. It tasted just like corn. Yeah. So, hate to tell you that, but you have to know that. So, the most common bacteria, though, are Lactobacillus firmicutes, and people that are seriously overweight, and this is a no judgment zone. Many have not been told about what to eat. I don't think obesity is something that people wanted to have. They were not informed. The doctor didn't tell them. The schools didn't tell them. They don't know. And they're eating less and not losing any weight. Eating less does not cause weight loss. It's eating the right food that does. I know someone that was just in a well-known hospital in town here who had some heart surgery and also had diabetes. And I saw in the instruction booklet that I thought maybe same time they're rehabilitating, they get rid of the diabetes, which you can in about 3 to 6 weeks by eating the right food. Because when you eat the right food, the biome changes. Remember I said epithelium is changed in 24 hours. The bacteria die every 20 minutes. So you think it takes a long time to get rid of your diabetes if you're eating the right food? No. I've done it many times with patients. It's shameful that this is not a big promotional thing across the world. Across the world. So the genes are not the main thing. It's the bacteria living within you are the main thing that'll determine whether you live to be 101 disease-free. Most people that live a little bit longer have diseases in them. Oh, he died at age 70, but what did he have? Had diabetes, totally preventable, avoidable. Someone didn't teach them about the biome, which I'm doing today. So bacteroides are bacteria that dominate breakdown of carbohydrates, sugary foods, and the breakdown of meat and fatty acids would take different enzymes. Then we also talk about gluten. In Australia, they checked everyone. They ran gluten tests on everyone. If you have celiac disease, that's very serious, but only 1% of the people have that. They tend to be short. You have all types of diseases. They can be neurologic diseases. Remember I said most of the serotonin is made in your gut, and a lot of the fatty acids are made in your gut, and fatty acids coat the nervous system. So, matter of fact, they found that there are more nerves in the gut than in your spinal cord. It's been proven. It has been proven. And being neurologists and neurosurgeons, I know a lot about that. So the gut and the brain all interrelated through hormones, through neuropeptides, through enzymes. They all are interrelated. So the world is really within us. We can travel to another country, and on the plane, the time we get back, we will have a different biome. We've been close to other people. We've been eating different food. So traveling runs this risk because you will pick up the biome of the person sitting next to you in part. Mm-hmm. Breathing them in, maybe sharing some of the food. It's complex. And so how can you change things? Well, by eating different food. We'll talk about that. But let me talk a little bit about a term you've heard before: prebiotics and probiotics. Things people sell in cans and sprays. And prebiotics, foods, it could just be type of food. It can be a supplement. But the prebiotic feeds the bacteria, the friends that are already present. That are already present, okay? That's a prebiotic, okay? But if you're having a health problem, that's not the answer to your health problem because you're missing the good bacteria, okay? That's what probiotics are all about. And they are live bacteria that we want to start growing in our gut to make us healthy. And they've figured out pretty much what some of them are. And through a process of fermentation, like sauerkraut would be an example of a prebiotic, you can eat them and change your gut. You are what your gut is, okay? But actually, you are what your biome ate. That's who you are. That represents you. So we have prebiotics, which is providing food for the bacteria you got, and that's important. And probiotics, which are replacement bacteria, which are alive from you eating them, sauerkraut, for example. These bacteria crave food too. When you're craving something, odds are it's a bacteria that are telling you, I want some more of this sugar or lectin or whatever. So we can take advantage of that because of the short lifespan of the bacteria, the short lifespan of the cells that are guarding our gut. So cravings can be eliminated in hours and days. And you know what they found out? If they put the right bacteria in your gut, weight loss happens real quick. Starving yourself, not eating, is not the way to lose weight. Yes. It depends on the type of bacteria in your gut. And your basic metabolic rate, the rate that the chemical reaction occurs, is something that can go up and down. It occurs every day. And what Dr. Kellerman found, and I'll hold up this book for you, what the microbiome diet, and I refer to this book frequently. There we go. Yeah, I think it's very well written. He lives in New York City, 45th Street. Has a good website too. So what he found is, if you're eating this way, that I try to. What about compliance rate? Do you have to be 100%? No, he found in the beginning when you're trying to change things, about 90%. Okay, I truly believe that, because myself, I eat 2 meals a day because I sort of follow fasting. If you spread, like 16-8 is what I do. If you can spread your meals apart, your body can undergo autophagia. It cleanses itself. Dead cells, impaired cells go away or replaced. New cells are being built, and it's real easy to be healthy that way. I didn't even know what I was doing until I read about it, but Dr. Sisson wrote a book called 2 Meals a Day. And I can almost eat anything I want to eat. And there was a time every time I had dinner, I had a piece of pie afterwards. And you say, because I don't have any illnesses, so I wasn't trying to correct anything, but I never gained a pound. And I wonder, it's because I'm playing pickleball or walking or tap dancing or whatever. And I thought it was due to that. But when I read this book here by Dr. Kellerman, what he's saying is, if you've done this for a long time, if you have 70% compliance, you're probably fine. That's, I think, for me, it's not 70%. I think it's probably 80 or 90% that I eat according to what I'm recommending. But 135 pounds, 39 years old for the 46th time. Normal weight, play pickleball 5 days a week. Okay. Challenge me if you don't believe me. So, let me tell you about some key facts about the small biome. Remember, these guys are extremely small. You couldn't see them with the naked eye. Okay. 90% of the cells in your body are not human. I already told you them. Okay. The microbiome is the key. That is the key. What are you feeding those guys? Because the food you're providing determines what guys live in your gut. You got healthy guys, you'll be healthy. And 99% of illnesses could be prevented by eating properly. You don't have to count calories. Remember I said that? I don't count calories. Eat all I want for breakfast, for dinner. And avoid foods that hurt your biome. It's as simple as that. Avoid foods that hurt your biome, okay? And then the last thing he wrote, which I told you already, and a few weeks down the line, maybe 70% compliance will do it. And you'll live to be 101 and tap dance and play pickleball with me. So the microbiome really is a weight loss breakthrough, okay? And the microscopic organisms control the way energy is extracted from food. Some things they don't metabolize, and they let it go to the colon, and maybe you'll even get rid of it. And they'll pull out all the vital nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals that regulate your immune system. Remember, the immune system is the right back of your epithelium in the gut that protects you from things having a leaky gut and them getting into the bloodstream and you having diseases, allergy reactions. So it exerts, the biome exerts tremendous influence over your hormones, your appetite, your cravings, even can change your genes. Yes. You're not just your genes. People can be born with and inherited with, like breast cancer. Maybe they get the BRCA gene, but that determines only 2.5% to 5% of expression if they eat the wrong food. They eat the right food, they might never get breast cancer. Most cancers are based on having excessive sugar in your body. 80% of breast cancer could be avoided. But all the money they make in town here when they have those meetings, they send it to Indianapolis for gene research. Major mistake. I think, and I've been down there and asked them to keep 50% of it in town to teach you about wellness. And the biome would be a great start. And our rate of breast cancer in this community would go way down. Virus infections would go way down because they had no sugar or fatty acids to eat. And most important, that these bacteria, because of metabolizing your food, affect your metabolism in your body. So that is really the key to weight loss, and fast, effective weight loss. Within days or weeks, you will lose weight, pound a week if you're eating. If you're changing your biome, which can change very quickly. Remember I said that. So let's review again. What is in the microbiome? It's trillions of microscopic living organisms, okay? They're non-human organisms, okay? 90% of the living things in your gut are bacteria. 10% is viruses and funguses. So digesting your food governs your appetite, controls your metabolism, orchestrates the immune response. We talked about that. Influences your mood through serotonin. We spoke about that. And gene expression. Your genes will not have a chance to express themselves if we're eating the correct food. We're actually not human. We have a separate ecology in our gut. Our friends living in there determine what happens to us. They determine our craving, our brain fog, our acne, our eczema, heart disease, cancer, kidney disease, vascular disease, amputations, dislocations are all determined by your biome, what you're putting in your mouth. Yes. So learn about this. Antibiotics are a big problem because they may save your life. You may have an infection by a certain bacteria, you take it. But the antibiotic you take most of the time, and especially we've been over-prescribing them, especially to children, they not only kill the bacteria that's harming or killing you, you're killing a lot of the rest of the healthy biome. They have now found children take 10 to 20 antibiotics by age 10. But we have an obesity epidemic among the children. Type 1 diabetes, for example, rates type 1 are much higher in people who've been on antibiotics, or when they are born and their face has not the lactobacillus by a vaginal birth has a C-section. The children who are C-sections have a higher rate of type 1 diabetes. That's been proven. That has been proven. The same with gluten. The gluten people have a rate of type 1 diabetes associated with it. So we have a symbiotic relationship with these guys in our body. We all do, okay? So it's the forgotten organ. Remember I said you should look at your bacteria as an organ. It's a forgotten organ of the biome. And I repeat again, a natural birth where our face of our newborn infant is covered by lactobacillus, and Bacteroides eventually determines a great deal of their health. And we need to point that out for anybody thinking of a C-section. Some people need that, obviously, but it clearly is overdone. And so mother's milk puts out oligosaccharides, which is a prebiotic, actually, and it starts the beginning of feeding of the microbiome that's growing in the child's gut, because being exposed to other family members and hugs and kisses and different things, bacteria are starting to grow in their gut, and it's getting bigger and bigger, and they need that. By age 3, maybe they'll have a full set. But if they keep on getting the wrong food, will determine whether they become obese, develop other diseases. And the children can develop diseases, immune diseases, because they don't have the bacteria, which can be asthma, allergy, celiac disease, skin infections, increased risk of type 2 diabetes. I could go on and on. And children who are given antibiotics have an increased obesity rate. They may need the antibiotics, but I've noticed, and it's well known now, that children who are repeatedly given milk when they don't have the enzyme to digest it, who are repeatedly given antibiotics, have constant ear infections. A place that a gym I used to go to with a lady in charge, all her kids had ear infections all the time, and I told them about this, and they stopped drinking milk, and guess what? All the ear infections stopped. That's reality. So you need to get informed. And those bacteria, if you were to put them all in a bag, would weigh about 3 pounds. I don't know why you want to know that, but I thought you'd like to know that. So, and we know they're very dynamic. They change quickly within the gut, 24 hours, bacteria, 20 minutes. We need to take advantage of that. So you can get rid of most illnesses very quickly, very quickly. Medicine needs to embrace that, which it has not. They give you a prescription. Here's a script. We need to embrace that new organ, the biome, and why we need the forgotten organ, okay? To help regulate the immune system. 3/4 of your immunity to fight off disease is in your gut. Stay healthy is in your gut. And the absorption of hormones and vitamins and minerals are there too. Incidentally, every animal has a biome too. And it'd be different in yours, but they have an immune system too. I feed the deer every day. Last night I had 9 deer eating out of my bird feeders and stuff. But I have gloves on all the time. But I heard they picked up the Coronavirus 19 virus. Yeah, but I will admit, my deer look really healthy. Okay, but we have plasticity. We can change very quickly, which is a wonderful opportunity. And and part of it is we can affect our gene expression. Maybe I spoke about that. We have 25,000 genes. Well, those bacteria have 150 times more if you add them up. Is that the end of the genes, what I call telomeres through a subject called epigenetics. We can change even our gene expression by eating the right thing. Because this extension of our genes, we can send a message to the main guys, to the 20, 25,000, through the epigenes. You can either help them or you can hurt them. Very interesting. That's a science that's lately being developed. So what you eat, what supplements you take, exercise you're doing, we actually share among us humans 99.9% of the genes are the same. You wouldn't have thought that. They prove that. But the microbiome is different among us, and it's what we are consuming. So our destiny is not just our genes. It depends on our biome. Most of the time. There are a few people who have genetic diseases, and what their gene expresses, they're going to have this rare disease, and you see some of those problems around, but not very commonly. You do notice some ethnic groups intermarry a great deal, so they have the same genes and they have the same diseases, but they're also eating the same food. So part of it is that there's no diversity of their genes. They're consuming same nutrition. So these religious or ethnic groups, very wonderful people, but they're getting diseases because they're eating the same food and there's no genetic diversity there. So what you feed, your biome is the answer. Your gut has a mind of its own. And I refer to this book here, The Second Brain by Gershon, which is excellent. And he really relates the gut to your neurotransmitters that are between your nerves. I also recommend this book to read because your brain helps run your body besides your gut, but they're all interrelated. Through hormones, neurotransmitters, enzymes, bacteria, they're all interrelated. And Hippocrates, the founder of Western medicine, we're talking about 2,000 years ago, said all disease begin in the gut. He said it 2,000 years ago. Unfortunately, for thousands of years, we have ignored that. What I'm speaking about today in medicine, although it's in many scientific books, still is not taught very much in the medical school. That's been 2 weeks on nutrition. I know. I went there and I visited them since. I even dropped some books off again recently. I noticed they haven't called back, that they wanted to have a lecture series on this. I think they're more focused on the X-ray, the new X-ray. Nutrition is the basis of health 90% of the time. And there are more nerves in the gut than in the spinal cord. Yes, stress can have a tremendous effect on us. It can destroy the good bacteria in your gut. That'll affect your health. Remember, 95% of serotonin, the feel-good hormone, the quick feel-good hormone, which also secreted in the brain. Most of it's made in the gut. And when you think of all the nerves there, and all our nerves, the membranes of our nerves are made out of fat. Every cell in our body is made out of fat. So knowing the difference between good fats and bad fats is important. The omega-3 are the good ones, omega-6 the bad ones. To have a ratio of 1 and 1, because we need some fat. Every cell has some fat on the cell membrane. So it is with the virus 19 that enters a cell. It's not a virus is not a living thing. Mm-hmm. Most people don't know that. A virus is not a living thing. It has incomplete genetic structure as that enter a human or an animal cell. It steals sugar and fatty acids and then starts multiplying. Mm-hmm. Leaves the cell and spreads around. I would think government, medicine leaders should tell us that for people to get rid of their diseases, like diabetes being the cause of 34 diseases, which you can do in 4 to 6 weeks by changing your biome. That message should be all over on the TV and newspaper every day. Every day, I think we would be saving a lot of lives. But you heard it from me. You heard it from me. And 80% of your immune system is in your gut. So if you have a strong immunity, you don't want glutens to come along and secrete zonulin and make a hole in the gut and cause a leaky gut, and now you're not well anymore. And so the benefits of gut healing, remember the holes in the gut we spoke about, leaky gut, fast, dramatic, permanent weight loss. Mm-hmm. Quick, vastly improved mental focus, the serotonin, remember that? Improved response to stress, serotonin, okay? Healthier immune system, we spoke about that. Beautiful glow in your skin. Remember when you reach 101, I wanted you to look like a teenager. That is possible. When I just finished reading Steve Gundry's books, 3 of them, actually, world-famous cardiologist who stopped doing heart transplants and switched to wellness teaching, said he had one patient, he calls her Michelle, that's an icon name. There's a picture of her and him, though, in front of one of his books, Plant Paradox, I think it is. She's 105 years old, but has a skin. I looked at the picture yesterday, the skin of a 20-year-old. And she referred to a book, which I have coming in the mail, something she read in 1900. I think H-A-U-P-T, I think is his name. No, Hauser. It's coming. I hope it's in my mailbox when I come home tonight. That described this way of eating back in 1900, and she was 105 or 6 when she finally passed away, but looked like a teenager. That's the message I'm trying to give to you. So when you reach your destination, 101, remember that? Call me up, and we'll play pickleball. You better be ready, though. Or we'll turn on the Bee Gees and tap dance, and we'll see who's better. I did the show because I love you, I care about you. Watch some of my other shows, and I'd gladly answer any questions you might have. You can see probably 500 shows on YouTube I've made, or see me for free at the Divine Cafe by the Coliseum, where I'm usually at noon on Fridays, most days. I'll even buy you breakfast. Why do I do this? I'm a doctor, and I care about you. Bye-bye.